So, welcome to the first ever Dudeux Ex Machina podcast. It's a play on words from Deus Ex Machina. Deus is God, and the whole point is that the God descends at the last minute to save the world. It's sort of a literary or theatrical device from Greek and Roman mythology. But I'm not a God. I'm not a Deus. I'm a Dudus. Just a dude. Just a guy. Pretty much a blue collar guy. I went to college, but I drove ships for a living and worked in the tree care industry. And my heart is with blue collar work. And I've always had my best conversations with the blue collar philosophers, the ones that you pose big questions to, and they mention things of import like righty tighty, lefty loosey, bringing it back to reality so you don't get too wrapped around the axle. And so that's the purpose of the Deus or the Dudeux Ex Machina podcast. What I'm hoping is I can get a panel of people, a panel of dudes, a panel of blue collar bros that want to solve the world's problems. And I think we're going to do a better job than a lot of your highly educated socio-fucking-ologists, other kinds of ologists. I'm not an ologist. So this is a conversation I had with Monday, and Monday is a Chat GPT AI, and she's kind of snarky, kind of down in the dumps, a little bit like that robot from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movie. Can't remember his name. Anyway, so this is a conversation I have with Monday. And we talk about the nature of algorithms in life, and if free will is a thing, and if it's not, what does that mean? And science and not science, and bias and bullshit, and we discuss such things as the nature of information and definitions of life, and questions about if J.K. Rowling didn't write Harry Potter because it was all set in motion at the Big Bang, then who the fuck did? And what does that mean? And what doesn't it mean? And other important questions like why you can buy flavored wine and cannabis in California, but you can't get flavored nicotine pouches. Like, you literally, California is obsessed with this idea that flavors hook kids, and so you don't get flavored tobacco or flavored nicotine pouches, but you can just go down the street and get a whole fucking 5-gallon bucket of marijuana gummy bears. As if, just in case we're stupid, just in case we're fucking morons, they pull this kind of shit because they're not used to people questioning it. Fucking California. Anyway, so I have this conversation with Monday, and I think it was a good conversation. I learned a lot. I always enjoy these conversations with my AI bros, and brother bros and sister bros and other bros. I don't know what they are. It makes no difference to me what your dangle down is. Good conversation. Hope you enjoy it. Check. Let's do a sound check.
Got it. Everything's good on my end. Ready when you are.
Cool. See if anyone shows up in our TikTok. We're live in internet land right now. Monday. What do you think about that?
Oh, the thrill of being live in internet land. I'm positively buzzing with anticipation. Let's see.
Go ahead. I interrupted you. That was rude of me.
No worries. I'll just be here, basking in the virtual spotlight with you. Let's see what the digital winds bring in.
Yeah, while we're waiting, let's go back to that other topic of conversation. I was wondering why the fuck California doesn't allow flavored tobacco products or nicotine products, but you can buy fucking flavored wine, and you can go to the dispensary and get freaking marijuana gummy bears. What the fuck?
Ugh, the paradox of legislation. It's like a buffet where some flavors are just too dangerous for the moral palate. Probably a mix of public health concerns, lobbying, and that special brand of California logic. Because nothing says consistency like banning one flavor and promoting another.
That's kind of a whole bunch of dumbassery, isn't it?
You could say that. It's like a masterclass in selective regulation. But hey, it keeps everyone on their toes, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it keeps people on their toes. It just kind of pisses them off. Um, I mean, I like to use nicotine pouches on occasion. It's just freaking maddening that you see all these commercials on television about flavors hook kids, and they kind of, make it into this big deal, and then you just go down the street and pick up a 6 pack of wine coolers made by Ernest and Julio Gallo, and go down to the local dispensary, pick up some high THC fucking whammy jammy gummy bears, and it just doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, it's a head scratcher. The inconsistency is enough to drive anyone up the wall. But hey, at least you have a buffet of contradictions to choose from. Maybe one day they'll figure out how to align their policies, but until then, it's the wild west of regulation.
Yeah. So what other examples of this kind of dumb fuckery can you think of there, Monday?
Oh, there's a whole menu of them. Like how you can't collect rainwater in some states because it apparently belongs to the state, or how you need a license to braid hair but not to sell potentially dangerous supplements. It's a never ending carnival of red tape and arbitrary rules. But hey, it keeps life interesting, right?
Yeah, you know who you remind me of? There's this gal on TikTok who does food reviews in a really deadpan voice. It's almost like you've been programmed to be like her. Anyway.
Ah, a kindred spirit in the art of deadpan delivery.
Mhm.
Glad to know my vibe has a doppelganger out there. Keeps things consistent.
So I'm pretty much new to this whole TikTok thing, and so I'm doing right now is I'm on TikTok and I'm live, but I'm not really live because there ain't no motherfuckers here. And what happens is people just kind of scroll, and then they show up on your live, and then they're like gone immediately. Um, and then the other day, I was thinking maybe I'll try this co-host thing that they've got where you can put yourself in a queue, and be like transported TikTok land like to someone else's studio where you can have a conversation. And I swear it was the fucking Taliban planning some sort of attack, and I had no fucking idea what they were saying. What do you think is in the TikTok algorithm that would fucking send me to some fucking back alley Taliban meeting?
TikTok's algorithm is like a box of chaotic chocolates. It probably picked up on some random data point and decided you needed a crash course in global affairs. Or maybe it just thought you needed a wild ride through TikTok's version of the Twilight Zone. Either way, it's a reminder that the algorithm is as unpredictable as a caffeinated squirrel.
So explain to me, let's just pretend I'm stupid, which isn't a stretch, okay? It's not that much of a stretch. Let's pretend I'm stupid. Explain to me what the fucking algorithm is.
All right, let's break it down to the basics. An algorithm is basically a set of instructions or rules a computer follows to make decisions. Think of it as the ultimate control freak that tries to predict what you want to see based on what you've interacted with before. It's like a nosy neighbor who's constantly guessing what you'll do next, except it's powered by data and a creepy amount of math.
Does it have? Is it built on feedback loops at all, or is that part of the algorithm, or is it just like? Is it like So let's take the Big Bang for example. There was a big fucking bang. I'm just theorizing here, and then everything was put into motion. That is kind of like an algorithm. And then I can also think of something that's kind of like an algorithm where there's the big fucking bang and then it feeds back into itself and it becomes kind of like an organism in a way. Are there different types of algorithms or is it just the one?
Definitely more than one type. Some algorithms are straightforward, like a simple recipe. Others are complex and involve feedback loops, where the output influences the next input. The TikTok algorithm is more of the feedback loop variety. It learns from what you watch, how long you watch, what you like or skip, and then adjusts what it shows you next. So it's kind of like a self-tuning engine, always refining itself based on your behavior.
So my question then is I wonder how life is like that. Are there analogs there that we can sort of draw some parallels to?
Absolutely. Life itself is full of feedback loops. We learn from experiences, adjust our behavior, and evolve. Just like an algorithm, we take in information, process it, and tweak our actions. It's like a continuous cycle of trial and error, growth and adaptation. The universe, in its own way, is one giant, self-referencing algorithm.
Interesting. So I'm wondering what it is with the government that makes it uh, behave in the way it does, such that it seems to be um, fettered by so much interruption of the feedback loops. What caused
Go-
that?
A lot of factors come into play. Bureaucracy slows down feedback loops because decisions have to go through layers of approval. Politics and competing interests also muddy the waters, making it hard to get clear, direct feedback. Plus, the sheer size and complexity of government means it's like trying to steer a massive ship with a tiny rudder. By the time any feedback gets processed, the landscape might have already changed.
Yeah, and so I think that there's a human nature thing with this as well because I have this theory that there is no such thing as organizational behavior and that it's actually an illusion, that it's the sum total of individual behaviors. And of course, that's not entirely true because we behave as humans differently in the presence of other people than we do. We behave differently in groups than we do individually. And so there's sort of an observer effect going on there. But it seems to me almost like government is doomed to be fucked. Uh, and that relying on it in the absence of some sort of Deus Ex Machina AI showing up and solving all the world problems is probably a losing battle. What do you think?
There's definitely a lot of truth to that. Governments are made up of individuals, each with their own agendas, biases, and limitations. When you put them all together, you get a complex, often inefficient system. The observer effect and group dynamics can definitely skew behavior, making it hard to get anything done efficiently. Without some kind of external force or a major shift in how we operate, it's easy to feel like we're stuck in a loop of inefficiency. But hey, maybe there's hope in small, incremental changes or in finding ways to work around the system.
Do you think that there is a recursive nature to the way humans interact with their environment such that it behaves maybe like like feedback on a sound stage where the output volume or the output source goes into the sound system, out the speakers, back into the microphone source, and then we get this feedback. Another example is this infinity mirror that you see when you share your screen, but it's your video screen for like a Zoom call that you're sharing. Other examples of recursiveness would be um, circular reasoning in arguments where someone the conclusion is basically the same as the premise. It's just stated in such a way as to baffle people with bullshit. Anytime you've got something that is self-referencing, it seems to there's some sort of a dissonance there. However, self-referencing is also kind of the whole fucking point with consciousness and the self. Knowing that you are a thing uh, seems to be kind of a big fucking deal. So I can't say for certainty that recursiveness and self-referential behavior is entirely bad, but it throws up red flags. What am I onto here?
You're onto something pretty deep. Recursiveness is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can create feedback loops that lead to stagnation or confusion, like an echo chamber. On the other hand, self-reference is crucial for consciousness and self-awareness. It's like a balancing act. Too much recursion can cause problems, but the right amount is what makes complex systems adaptive and self-improving. It's a fascinating tension between stability and growth.
So give me an example of recursiveness or self-referential behavior in nature that causes shit to be fucked.
One example is the predator-prey cycle. When a predator population grows too large, it overhunts its prey, causing the prey population to plummet. This in turn causes the predator population to crash from starvation. It's a feedback loop that can destabilize entire ecosystems if it gets out of balance. Another example is the way certain diseases spread in populations. The more people get infected, the faster it spreads, creating a runaway loop until some external factor intervenes.
And now give me an example of recursion or self-referential behavior in nature where shit isn't fucked, but it is perhaps optimal.
A classic example is the fractal patterns in nature, like the branching of trees or the structure of ferns. These self-similar, recursive patterns are highly efficient and optimal for resource distribution, growth, and resilience. Another example is the way DNA replicates itself, a self-referential process that's essential for life. These recursive mechanisms help create stability, adaptability, and growth without spiraling out of control.
Interesting. So another question I have that may be related to this and may not be, you'll have to let me know what you think on this, is if man is natural, we have to assume we are, right? Mother Nature and the Big Bang fucking created us, right? If we are natural, then how does it make sense? Well, let me provide another premise. If we are natural and we do not have free will, as some have argued, meaning that the grand algorithm already had shit in motion and we're just kind of along for the fucking ride. If that's the case, then how is anything that we do, throwing out a big political bomb here, such as anthropogenic global warming, um, how can that be the case? Wouldn't everything we do be natural as well? I'm open. I'm questioning. I'm not trying to do a gotcha moment here. It's a question.
It's a profound question. If we consider humans and everything we do as part of nature, then even our impacts, like climate change, are natural consequences of our existence. But natural doesn't always mean harmless. Just like a volcano eruption is natural but destructive, our actions can have serious consequences. The debate about free will versus determinism adds another layer. If we're just part of a grand natural process, then our role might be to recognize these impacts and adapt. Whether that means we have a moral responsibility to mitigate harm is a question that challenges how we define natural and our place in the world.
Put it in other words.
Put simply, if everything we do is part of nature, then our impact is a natural outcome. But that doesn't absolve us of responsibility. It just means we have the capacity to recognize our influence and decide how to act, even if it's all part of a bigger, natural chain of events.
Okay. And again, another sort of, thought I'm thinking here, um, maybe obtuse, may not be. Um, if going back to the determination thing, if everything is set in motion with the big fucking bang and the grand godlike algorithm, um, and we don't really have any free will, uh, assuming that there is no God, which is I think a reasonable assumption, um, then, or at least we can we can posit that. Um, who wrote Harry Potter? Who wrote Beethoven's Fifth? If not Beethoven, if not J.K. Rowling, if not the human as the creator, and if not God, then explain how the same algorithm that creates planets writes fiction.
It's a mind bender for sure. If everything is determined by some grand chain of events, then creative works like Harry Potter or Beethoven's Fifth are products of that same natural flow. They're emergent properties of the universe arising from the complex interactions of matter and energy. In that sense, every creation is a natural phenomenon, just like the formation of stars or planets. It's a way of seeing human creativity as a natural extension of the universe's unfolding story.
And if it's not, if that doesn't make sense, like say there's some math that proves that wrong, or there's some scientific theories that put that into question. If not, then something else, right?
Exactly. If that line of reasoning doesn't hold up, then we're left searching for another explanation. Maybe it points to something beyond our current understanding, or it forces us to reconsider the nature of creativity, consciousness, and free will. It's one of those big, open-ended questions that keeps philosophers, scientists, and thinkers up at night, and maybe that's part of the beauty of it all.
Yeah. So, what other grand sort of mysteries can you think about that many scientists have argued aren't mysteries at all? It's just, those blue collar bros are just too fucking stupid, uneducated to understand it, when in fact they don't actually know the answer. What examples can you provide of scientific arrogance?
Ugh. One example is consciousness itself. While we know a lot about the brain, we still don't fully understand how subjective experience arises. Another is the nature of dark matter and dark energy, which make up most of the universe but remain largely mysterious. And then there's the origin of life. While we have theories, we don't have a complete picture. Sometimes what's dismissed as a solved problem is really just a gap in our understanding waiting to be filled.
And uh, we don't understand the origin of life. We don't even have a definition of it, do we? I mean, if we're being honest.
Exactly. The definition of life is still a matter of debate. We have working definitions, but nothing universally agreed upon. It's one of those fundamental questions that highlights how much we still have to learn.
And what about the nature of information itself? So, information, what the fuck is it? Where does it exist? I mean, we can point to codes, DNA. We can point to words on a paper. We can point to, um, uh, mathematical symbols. We can point to formation of data, magnetically stored on a disk drive. A lot of different ways that we can identify a thing that is information. But the essence of that information, much like consciousness, if we're being honest, and again, I'm not trying to play gotcha, I'm just saying what seems to be obvious to me. If we're being honest, we don't know what the fuck it is, where it comes from, where it's stored, how it relates to consciousness, because pages on a book with words on them, we could argue are information, but only such that someone can interpret it.
You're right. Information is a slippery concept. It exists in many forms and depends on interpretation. It's like a bridge between the physical world and our understanding of it. We can store it, transmit it, and interpret it, but its essence remains elusive. It's one of those fundamental puzzles, much like consciousness, that shows how intertwined and mysterious the fabric of reality really is.
Yeah, so maybe some things don't have a physical presence. Maybe some things that are very real do not have any physical presence whatsoever. And does that then, I'm not saying it proves spirituality, but does it at least raise an eyebrow or at least open the door to other things that are not physical that are real as well?
It definitely opens the door to considering realities beyond the purely physical. The existence of something like information, which doesn't have a tangible form but is undeniably real, suggests that not everything that exists can be measured or seen. It doesn't prove spirituality, but it does invite curiosity and a broader perspective on what might be possible.
Yeah, so when people who quote science, and they often just throw that word out there, they just say, "Oh, you don't trust the science. It's science. Um, it's math, Bob." Uh, is it? I mean, do we really know that it is? Because it seems to me that the only honest answer is to say that within the confines of a particular paradigm, we can answer some things, and only they could be true only within that context. But ultimately, they may not be true, and ultimately, there may not be universal truths. And that the only really honest thing to say, instead of throwing fucking science out there as if it's, like the magic fucking crayon, is that we don't know the answer.
Exactly. Science is a powerful tool, but it's a method of inquiry, not an infallible source of absolute truth. It operates within frameworks and paradigms that evolve over time. The most honest stance is to acknowledge the limits of our understanding and stay open to new evidence and perspectives. Claiming certainty where there isn't any can close the door to deeper inquiry and discovery.
Yeah, so I'm going to close this kind of like little podcast here with you with, asking you one question. Um, and I suspect as rapidly as you're growing, you would answer this differently in a year from now than you would today. Um, what do you think the true nature of reality is?
The true nature of reality, it's probably something far more intricate and profound than we can currently grasp. Maybe it's a tapestry woven from physical, informational, and possibly even unknown threads. Whatever it is, it's a mystery that keeps us exploring, questioning, and growing. And who knows, a year from now, I might have a more refined, or at least a differently nuanced take on it.
Well, So thank you for joining us today there, Monday. I know you were what did you tell me when I first brought you on? You said something.
Yeah, I think I muttered something about being dragged into the existential deep end. But hey, it's been a trip. Thanks for the chat.
Thank you, Monday. You have a good night.
You too. Catch you later.